She said caring for me was inconvenient. I haven't spoken to her since. AITA. This all started 8 months ago. I, 28M, had what was supposed to be a minor surgery, one of those in and out in a day types. Nothing life-threatening, just a knee operation after an old sports injury finally caught up with me. Recovery time was estimated at 3 to 4 weeks, mostly resting, keeping weight off it, some help around the house. Enter my girlfriend, Lisa, 27F. We'd been dating for a little over 2 years. Lived together for one. She's smart, driven, type A to the max. She color codes her calendar and schedules her own dentist appointments 6 months in advance. I've always admired that about her. So naturally, I assumed foolishly that when I needed help for a few weeks, she'd step up. Spoiler, she didn't. The first red flag came the night before surgery. I was nervous, pacing around the apartment, trying to distract myself. She was lying on the couch, scrolling on her phone. "You'll be fine," she said. "Just don't make it a big deal." Okay. Cool. After the surgery, things got worse. I couldn't drive, couldn't cook, couldn't even shower properly for the first few days. The pain was worse than I expected, and the meds knocked me out cold half the time. I needed someone to, at the very least, help with meals and keep an eye on me. But Lisa? Lisa started disappearing. I have meetings. I need to focus. I'm tired too, you know. My personal favorite, I didn't sign up to be a nurse. One night, 4 days post-op, I woke up soaked in sweat from a fever. The incision looked off. I asked her nicely if she could take me to urgent care. Her answer? Right now? That's really inconvenient. She said it without flinching. Like I'd asked her to help me move a couch, not take me to a doctor because I might have an infection. I Ubered there myself. Turned out I did have a minor infection. Caught early, thank God. But I remember sitting in that sterile little room, hearing the nurse talk about wound care and antibiotics, and just thinking, this woman could scroll Pinterest for 4 hours a night but couldn't drive me 10 minutes? I went back to our apartment and didn't say a word. Just watched her. Watched how easily she slipped back into her life. How my pain was just background noise. 2 days later, I called my brother, asked him to help me pack, and I left. No fight. No screaming match. Just a note on the counter. I needed someone who didn't treat caring for me like a burden. That was 6 months ago. I haven't spoken to her since. She's tried texting. Dmang. Even emailed me once like it was a business inquiry. Can we please talk? I think you overreacted. My friends are split. Half say I did the right thing, that leaving was standing up for myself. The other half say I was too harsh. That I should have communicated better. That maybe she just didn't know how to care for someone sick. But honestly? When someone shows you that your suffering is inconvenient, what more is there to say? Last week, I got a message from an unknown number. It was short. Just, "Please don't block me. I just want to explain." I knew it was Lisa. I stared at it for hours before I finally gave in and replied. "Explain what?" She sent me a wall of text, like, novel length. And before I even read it, I'll be honest, I was ready to write it all off as another excuse. Another carefully worded way to say I didn't mean it that way. But as I scrolled, something shifted. She didn't beg. She didn't deny. She just told me her version. And it hit different. Here's the gist of what she said. She was burned out. Not in the "I need a day off" way, but in the clinical, can't sleep, crying in the car on lunch break kind of way. Apparently, her job had been threatening layoffs, and she was in the middle of a huge make-or-break project. She was putting in 60-plus-hour weeks trying to stay afloat, trying to prove she was essential. She said, "You were in pain, and I was barely functioning. I didn't know how to ask for help, and I hated that I resented you for needing me. I hated myself for feeling that way, and I hated you because you reminded me that I couldn't handle everything." She said when she called my situation inconvenient, she wasn't saying I was. She was saying life was. That she felt helpless and guilty and angry at herself, but I couldn't see that because she didn't show it. She didn't know how. And you know what? I believe her. Because now that I've had distance, now that I'm not deep in it, I can admit, I didn't ask her how she was doing either. I was so wrapped up in the pain, the meds, the fear, that I didn't notice the bags under her eyes or the fact that she'd been skipping meals. We were two people falling apart, but only one of us had permission to say it out loud. Still, I asked her one question. "Then why didn't you say any of this when I left?" She replied, "Because I thought I didn't deserve to. I thought if I couldn't be there for you when it counted, I didn't get to fight for you." That one stuck with me. I haven't responded since. And here's the thing, I'm not looking to go back. What happened happened. I needed support. She didn't give it. And whether or not she meant to, the damage is real. But now I'm sitting here wondering, was I too hard on her? Did I ghost someone who was quietly drowning? Some of my friends still say I did the right thing. Others think maybe this is the beginning of a long overdue conversation. But the truth is, I don't know. All I know is, I didn't leave because she failed. I left because she didn't try. 3 days after her last message, I thought that was it. Done. Over. I'd heard her out. I was still sitting in the gray area between closure and confusion, but I figured we'd finally hit the part of the story where people move on. Then a letter arrived. Not an email. Not a text. An actual envelope with a stamp and my name written in her handwriting. I opened it without thinking, expecting some dramatic final note from Lisa herself. But it wasn't from her. It was from her mom. And I'll be honest, I almost tossed it in the trash. But something about the weight of it, the messiness of the handwriting, made me sit down and read. Here's what it said, paraphrased but close. You don't know me, and I don't expect you to want to. But I needed to write this because Lisa won't. She's too ashamed. She still loves you, and that might not mean anything now, but it's the truth. She went on to say that Lisa had been struggling with anxiety and depression for years, but kept it buried under routines and to-do lists and productivity. That the week of my surgery, Lisa had had a full-blown panic attack, her first since college, but had hidden it from me because she didn't want me to worry. Apparently, her mom had only found out after the fact, when Lisa showed up at her door crying the night I left, convinced she'd ruined everything. She told me she watched you walk out and didn't stop you because she thought you were better off. That you'd finally see her for what she was, broken. And yeah, I cried reading that. Not because it excused what happened. It didn't. But because suddenly, the story shifted from betrayal to tragedy. I still remember that night. The way she stood in the kitchen, not saying a word while I packed. I remember thinking, why isn't she fighting for me? Now I knew. She didn't think she deserved to. I don't know if that changes how things end, but it does change how I remember them. I sat on the letter for a while. Told no one. Not even my brother, who helped me move. Not the friends who still call her she who must not be named. And then, last night, I sent her a message. Not long. Not emotional. Just, I got your mom's letter. I hear you now. She replied within minutes. Thank you. That's it. No plea. No Hail Mary. Just 2 words. And somehow, they were enough. So, here's the part where most stories wrap up with a kiss at the airport, a teary reunion, a slow fade into forgiveness and brunch dates. That's not what happened. After I messaged Lisa, we didn't talk for a while. No big emotional conversation. No flurry of what-ifs. Just space. Respectful silence. It was like we'd both finally exhaled after months of holding our breath. But about 2 weeks later, she asked if we could meet. Not to get back together. Not to talk about us. Just to say the things that hadn't been said. We met at a park. Neutral ground. She brought 2 coffees, still remembered how I take it. She looked different. Not physically, really. But lighter. Like she wasn't trying so hard to hold the world together with her bare hands. She said this. I don't want to be forgiven for what I did. I want to be accountable for it. And I want you to know that you walking away was the wake-up call I needed. She told me she was in therapy now. She'd taken a leave from work. She was actually dealing with the stuff she used to bury under planners and checklists. And most importantly, she wasn't telling me all this to win me back. I'm telling you because I want to be someone who's capable of showing up. For others. And for myself. And man, that hit harder than any love confession ever could. I told her what I'd been holding in too, that I had resented her silence more than her words. That the night she called my pain inconvenient, it felt like she erased everything we'd built. She didn't flinch. She just nodded and said, "You're right. I did." That was the moment I realized we were both finally telling the truth. No one trying to save face. No one performing. Just 2 people sitting in the wreckage of what could have been, planting something new in the ashes. We're not back together. We probably never will be. But we check in now. Send updates. Recommend books. Cheer each other on from a distance. And honestly, that feels like the healthiest version of love we ever had. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. Not every relationship is meant to be repaired. Some are meant to teach you where your boundaries live. Lisa taught me that needing help doesn't make you weak. And I taught her that love without care is just a costume. I don't regret leaving. She doesn't regret letting me. We regret how it happened. But not that it happened.